G'day guys, Oliver from NRL in My Opinion here. This is the next episode, I guess you could say, of the NRL in My Opinion video podcast. As you can probably notice, this isn't the same background as we had last time. If you do watch League Lane with Dane on Clarkey's NRL column, you'll see that it is his background. That's because at the moment we're filming through his computer, which I'm very thankful for because the other computer that I was supposed to be using just shit itself. So also, I guess I'm going to have to put this on hold just for a little bit, not too long, any further episodes until I get a new working computer where everything runs smoothly. With that being said, over to you, Clarkey. How you been, mate?
Good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on again. It's always good to work with you. Very knowledgeable and intelligible on rugby league. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Dane. I'm an aspiring rugby league columnist and I operate under my social media, I suppose you could say, brand, Clarkey's NRL column. And as Oliver said before, all the links are at the top if you're interested in getting involved.
All right, sweet. Let's get right into it with our first topic today. Jason Taumalolo playing State of Origin. I'm just going to get straight to it. What do you think of this? Obviously, because he has been playing for Tonga over the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, with the way the eligibility rules currently are, he's not eligible to play Origin until 2020. Now, that's what I'm reading and I'm drawing from it all. I could be wrong with that. And to be honest, we're realistically taking stabs in the dark when it comes to rugby league eligibility rules because we've seen so many gap holes and so many little holes exploited throughout the years that, it's almost a guess as to whether the governing body would, allow him to play State of Origin or not. I mean, I think he's inspired by his Tongan teammate Tavita Pengai Jr. potentially playing for the Blues. And I think if he does play for the Maroons, then, it adds to what's already a phenomenal career for him. Dally M, Lock of the Year, Tongan International, New Zealand International, now a State of Origin representative. As a Queenslander, I'm certainly hoping this proves true. And, he's able to build a partnership with some of the forwards already at the Cowboys. We look at the fact Michael Morgan will likely be there. Josh Maguire will likely be there, as well as Gavin Cooper and Cohen Hess. So he'll sort of have a little bit of a formation with some of the boys before even playing Origin. To finish off, do I think it's fair if he plays? Probably not, because he did represent New Zealand first. Will I be happy if he plays? Yes, I will.
All right. We'll get straight on to our second topic then. I've got it here as Americanizing rugby league. So I guess it's sort of two questions here about maybe the NRL introducing a trade period and an NRL draft. I'm not quite sure about this one personally. I think we do need to improve, I guess, how not rookie players coming in into the league. I think that's, we've got some great talent that have been developed, especially just last year. We had plenty of breakout players. I do think, though, we need to improve sort of how players are signed and whatever and set up a bit of a better system. But I don't know, just straight out copying another sport, I don't know if that's the way to go. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think obviously these sports are a lot more popular, but America has a much larger base to, acquire fans, I suppose you could say. As for a draft system, it just, I'm going to be really blunt with this because I get asked this question a lot. It won't work. It simply won't work. They are drafted in America from a college system that is external of NBA teams. I'll use the NBA, for example. So they are playing for an external college with no affiliation. However, in Australia, if you're a talented kid at the age of 13, these days, you're being signed by an NRL club. Now, I'll use the Broncos, for example. I just can't see the Broncos mentoring a kid all through high school, only for him to get to year 12, and I'll use the West Tigers, for example, finishing last, so they get the first draft pick, and then they take this kid that the Broncos have just nurtured through high school and mentored for all these years. Yeah. All of a sudden, well, that's too bad. You finished 8th, we finished last. Thanks for that. We'll take him. And there's no incentive for clubs to want to develop players as soon as this starts happening. Because, clubs are going to look, why will we, spend this much money and this much of our facilities and this much of our coaching staff? Why would we commit them to this purpose when there's no guarantee he's ever going to play for us? So for me, no, I don't think a draft system will ever work here in the NRL. I know the AFL has one, but I'm honestly
Yeah.
not an AFL fan at all, so I couldn't tell you how that works. As for a trade system, again, it's something that I don't think our sport is large enough or has enough teams. I think there's 32 teams in the NBA, so we have half of that. I am up for a trade period, however. Let's say from, a couple weeks after the grand final until a couple weeks before preseason begins. That's the sort of period where you can re-sign stars or stars can sign elsewhere. And I believe the AFL has this period and their contracts are a lot more tidied up as a result.
Yeah.
If there is, certain circumstances that a player needs to leave a club outside of the trade period and sign elsewhere, i.e. family health, family happiness, something, extraordinary that, we have to consider. I think he should not be allowed to sign a contract worth more for the club he's going to. So, for example, Ash Taylor, let's say he's on $500K at the Titans. He needs to go to Sydney because that's where's best for his family. The Roosters cannot sign him for anything more than $500K. And if they do offer him a $600,000 contract or third parties that bump him up over his previous amount, then I believe the NRL should just simply not register that contract. So trade period, yes. Trade system, draft system, no. No from me.
Yeah, definitely. Just on as well, definitely not necessarily a trade period, but I think the first thing the NRL needs to do personally for me is introduce a period where you're only allowed to sign players in this amount of time. So like, as you said, after the grand final to a couple of weeks before preseason or right before preseason, because at the moment, during the middle of the year when games are being played, there's these off-field distractions with players signing with different clubs, and then it can, in a sense, affect the team on the field. So I 100% agree with there. Definitely not necessarily a trade period. That'd work too. I'm not suggesting any specific period at the moment, but definitely a period in time where we just sign players, and you can't sign players outside of that. And it would also make for an exciting off season, and we wouldn't just be sitting here like we have been during the off season. I know it's probably been a bit hard for me as well to come up with some content to talk about. So. Just had to, pull some fantasy stuff out of my head. So yeah, it definitely does make it a bit better for us as well. On to our third topic now. The question that was sent in was our top 5 underrated players each. I'm not going to do a top 5. I'm just going to do underrated players in general, just name some players off the top of our head. I know that you agree with this one as well. Definitely for me, one of, if not the most underrated player in the NRL at the moment. He's probably drawing near the end of his career now, is Michael Gordon.
Yeah, certainly agree.
He was definitely one of the key figures when he was playing at Penrith, one of the best goal kickers in the game. And look, as a winger, obviously wingers are sort of put on a lower level than other positions.
Mm-hmm.
But a good winger is someone who plays their position well, that's, grab the ball, pretty much run for the line, try not to go out. And I believe he did that pretty good. Then obviously moving into the fullback role, I believe this it first happened at Penrith, but I think it was supposed to, become a permanent thing while he was at Cronulla. And, he spent a bit of time there. Then he ended up moving to the Eels, promised the fullback spot again, ended up being shifted onto the wing. Then he went to the Roosters, where arguably for me in 2017, for at least half a year, he was their best player at fullback. He was their in-form player at a Roosters squad that was still performing at a high level. And, it was inevitable as soon as they signed James Tedesco that they're not going to, sign a quality player like James Tedesco and just stick him out on the wing so that Michael Gordon can play fullback, unfortunately. So Michael Gordon now finds himself at the Titans, back near where he's from. And it looks like this season he might be missing out as well, which is sad because it's his last season. This might, not. Yeah, I hope they find somewhere in the squad for him. But yeah, a good thing, especially for us being Titans fans, is that we've got plenty of depth. That just shows how hard it is to get into that squad. That's just a player for me. Any other players for you just spring to mind?
Yeah, certainly not too many that spring to mind. One that often springs to my mind when I'm asked this question, as you said, is Michael Gordon, probably closely followed by Isaiah Yeo. Now, he is, I believe he's a co-captain of the Penrith Panthers, so he's starting to, be recognised for his on-field feats. But, certainly a player that leads by example. And for this segment, I'm actually cheating a little bit. I was scrolling through my team lists, if you guys can see there, and thinking of some players. One player from the West Tigers, certainly, and a lot of people might not agree with this, but that further attests to what I'm about to say, is Alex Twal. Now, I believe last year, Ivan Cleary was not using the bench rotation correctly. Alex Twal was not getting the minutes he deserved for the amount of effort and the stats he was putting up. He would quite often run for over, Russell Packer and Ben Martellino were only running for about 80 to 100 metres as starting front rows. Twal was often getting more off the bench. Now, you can argue those first two were laying the platform for Twal to come on and make those extra metres, but I'm certainly interested to see a very experienced coach like Michael Maguire, who knows how to use his bench to the extent we've seen the Burgess boys play off it before. I'm excited to see how Alex Twal, reacts to the new role. Another underrated player on the Rabbitohs now. I'm looking through, and from my predicted list here, the one that springs to mind is John Sutton.
Okay, yeah.
He's never really, been recognised for the work he's done on the field, but, he's played over 300 games for the Rabbitohs. He's their most capped player in history, and, there's certainly an argument to be made there that, he's one of their best players of all time. Who else have we got? I'll go for one more player now. Let's go to... Okay, here's a really controversial one now. I've just flicked over to the Newcastle Knights. I'm sure you can probably guess who I'm going to say, and it's going to be with controversy. Are we thinking the same man here?
Are his initials maybe MP?
Absolutely. Now, Piercy has copped flack his whole career.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't fair. People are willing to acknowledge that Laurie Daly was unlucky as the New South Wales Blues coach because he was coaching against the best Queensland side ever. But when it comes to Mitchell Pearce, the punters give him no slack. It's not, Pearce was up against the best Queensland side of all time. It's, Pearce can't deliver in big moments. Pearce is crap. Pearce is never good under pressure. Pearce can't close out games. I'm almost certain that if Nathan Cleary, we'll use the half from last year, that one. I'm almost certain that obviously he would have been too young at the time, but if he was of age, if he was playing with that Blues side against the Maroons in that decade period where Pearce was, I'm almost certain Cleary wouldn't have been able to make a difference. Okay. I'm almost certain the reigning Dally M halfback of the year, Luke Brooks, wouldn't have been able to make a difference. That was a Queensland side that knew how to win, coached by a man who knows how to win, who is now also at the Titans. How exciting, Mal Meninga, what a signing. But yeah, Mitchell Pearce, hugely underrated. Even last year, injured for, I believe, 13 rounds with a pec tear, and he was still in top 5 for Dally M counts. So, certainly underrated in every facet of the word for me.
Okay, just on Mitchell Pearce, I guess for me, for Origin, I don't think he sort of did deserve some of the slack he got, because I know me as a New South Wales supporter as well, there's YouTube highlights videos that go for about 10 minutes that show all the mistakes he's made in Origin, and that I know it's a great Queensland side, but it's state of origin, you got to sort of
rise to the
be
occasion.
up to that level. Yeah, definitely. But I do agree with you on him not, I guess, being worthy of some of the slack that he copped in Clubland. I think he was a really good player for the Roosters, definitely one of their best players. Look, maybe he did sort of feel under pressure a little bit in big game situations, because obviously in 2013 they won the premiership, so he did win a premiership with them. Yeah. But the 2 years after, 14-15, they made the preliminary final, and I'm not just saying it was him. They made the preliminary final, minor premiers, and they choked. So maybe that was more of a whole team thing. Definitely better in Clubland, but just off those couple of points there, I think maybe he did feel a little bit under pressure. But I don't know. I'm not in the head of Mitchell Pearce. Sort of, I guess, a follow-up question I want to ask you after your argument against him and Origin. So pretty much the same Queensland side in 2014 as the rest of the years in the decade. How come, I guess, Josh Reynolds and Trent Hodkinson were able to handle the pressure a bit better in the halves than Mitchell Pearce was?
Well, it was a low-scoring game when they won. I believe they won 6-4, and Cooper Cronk was out injured. Our halfback was Daly Cherry Evans, and just like you said, he didn't rise to the occasion, which you must do in State of Origin. It was actually, I don't want to point the finger directly at Cherry Evans as it is a team sport, but when Trent Hodgkinson did score that try to break the drought, it was Cherry Evans that also missed the tackle. When you're used to having Cooper Cronk there and Cooper Cronk's not there, it's a completely different side. That bloke has, as we saw in the grand final, some of the best leadership qualities we've ever seen in rugby league. Probably only one player more influential than himself, and that would be Cameron Smith. But
who was in that squad?
Yeah, he was in that squad, but it just that adds again that Cooper Cronk is so influential without even needing to touch the ball, as we saw in the grand final. But again, I've just said it's unfair that Mitchell Pearce cops the flack, and I guess my response has sort of pointed the finger at one man and give the flack to him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, another thing I can't overstate is Queensland weren't dominating all those years. They were winning by a field goal or 2 points.
That is true,
It was always super close. The Blues had to break through eventually.
Okay.
I think if Mitchell Pearce played and Hodkinson or Reynolds were out of the halves in 2014, I think Pearcey would have experienced an Origin win also. That's just my opinion.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
One more thing on Pearce. I know we spoke about him for a while, and this does contradict everything I've just said about him being underrated. Yeah. But again, that is because that's my opinion. I suppose looking at it from outside and arguing a separate point is, how come the Roosters won the premiership the first year he left and Cooper Cronk took over, which I suppose isn't a good look for Pearce. But again, my opinion, I believe if Cronk wasn't there and Pearce was there, I believe he still would have led that team to the premiership. Tedesco, Pearce, Keary, Friend, that's still a very, very strong spine. Yeah,
well, obviously, we're still talking about the same two men, Cronk and Pearce, with this grand final situation. I mean, Mitchell Pearce, yes, he left the squad, and it does look bad, but it's Cooper Cronk coming in. I mean, Pearce is a good player, but Cooper Cronk is Cooper Cronk, you know what I mean? So, maybe it wasn't more Mitchell Pearce leaving. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was a bit more the man that was coming in. But anyway, we'll get on to our next topic now, which is a bit more personal to you. So I'll hand it over to you to explain it mostly. It's this new project that you're working on, this new clothing brand. Let us know a little bit about that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually really flattered that, I've received so many messages from you guys saying you're ready to support, and even just the fact now that people want me to talk about it on a podcast. So it's at Crooked Paradise. I don't want to talk about it too long, guys, but it's pretty much a clothing company for now with the dream to obviously expand it into other stuff, slides, key rings, socks, you name it. It's in my plans for the future. But if you are interested, at crooked.paradise on Instagram, or just type in Crooked Paradise on Facebook, we'll have sample tees coming soon for a very good price. We're looking at selling our samples for about $30 each a t-shirt, or you can grab all 4 of our samples for $100, which, once you start getting up to the $100 mark, it does sound expensive, but I'll point to other t-shirt companies. They're selling for $50 a t-shirt, so by the time you pay for 2 t-shirts and postage, you're up to about $110. So you're getting, 4 t-shirts for that price, lower than that price. So little project I'm working on the side, and hopefully some big things come of it. If not, the way I look at it, it's a win or a learn situation. I love learning. I love surrounding myself with smart, intelligent people. And, if it doesn't work out, it was a great learning curve, and I've learned a lot about business along the way. But, the dream is to make it work, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that occurs.
Good stuff. I know I'll be probably picking up that 4-pack for $100. They look really good. So as I'm just sort of echoing Clarkey's point, head over to at crooked.paradise on Instagram or crooked paradise on Facebook to see some of the samples that are already being posted on there to see what you can get your hands on soon. Next question now. Should we bring back City versus Country?
I never had a problem with it. I never understood why coaches had a problem with it, and why they stopped their, players from playing. When we look at the last City versus Country that was played, a lot of those players were not rep standard. The whole concept of City versus Country was to help you pick your origin players, and we had, reserve graders playing in that game, which made a mockery of it. If that was how it was set to continue, with coaches not allowing their players to represent City or Country, yes, I am happy for it to be scrapped. However, if it was ever to go back to how it was, half a decade ago, 5 years ago, we had genuine Blues chances in that squad, and it was a great tool for the coaches of the New South Wales Blues to help select their squad. But as I said, towards the end, it was almost a completely different concept and a completely different game. The old way and the old school City versus Country, yes, bring it back. The new one, where coaches don't want to allow their players to play, and we're realistically watching a bunch of fringe first graders with, I think Paul Gallen played in the last one, even though he'd already retired from State of Origin. So, I mean, if that's how it is going to be, no, keep it gone. But as I said, I'm happy to see it back under the criteria I previously stated.
Yeah, well, just a couple of points on that as well. Just going to show how it was a beacon, I guess, for the selectors for the Blues Origin squad to, pick talent. I mean, I'm pretty sure Laurie Daly, while he was New South Wales coach, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was also the country coach. So, he was obviously right in the thick of it. We also saw Brad Fittler was City coach, I believe, for a bit, who is now currently the New South Wales coach. So just a couple of points there. For City versus Country, for me, this is also a bigger issue. I think if we are going to bring it back or something like that, we need to set rules in place that stop coaches from not allowing their players to play in these games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a chance to play at a higher level. And I know it sounds like City versus Country isn't, I guess, a higher level. That's sort of the stereotype it's taken over the past few years. And that is because coaches aren't letting the best top talent play in these games. If they were allowed to play, it'd be a higher representative level. I think if we bring it back as well, I think we need to have one for New South Wales and one for Queensland. I think the Queensland talent needs to be put on show as well. And even look, after, let's just say, there's the Queensland City versus Country. Let's just say Queensland Country wins that, and the New South Wales City versus Country, New South Wales City win that. The Queensland Country team and the New South Wales City team then verse in a game or whatever.
Absolutely.
Also, another
it could occur on the new rep weekend they've added, or it could occur as a obviously with the Origin on the Sunday. It could occur as a curtain raiser to that game. It's a good market, a good opportunity, and with if what you've just said. If the NRL could implement that, they're missing out on a big opportunity by not doing so, I believe.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I guess, if you want to put the top talent on the show, I think you change the date. And by that, I mean, don't put it on the same weekend as, well, we don't have the Anzac Day test anymore. But when we did, obviously, that weekend, City versus Country would be on. So although there weren't many for the last few years, all the New South Wales players that got selected for the Kangaroos obviously couldn't play City versus Country. I think if we bring it back, especially now with, let's be honest, there's going to be more New South Wales players making the Australian squad. I think we need to separate it so that we can obviously have the best talent playing as well. The NRL says, they want to invest more in, the game being played in the country, take more games out to the country and that. So why take away the one thing that you had in place already that, I guess, exposed country rugby league? You took a game out to the country. You had players from the country playing for a country side. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I think if they were genuinely serious about maybe this country push, I think they should have kept City versus Country in there, or somehow made, a game revolving around country rugby league. I mean, it's great that they're taking games out there now. I know Penrith's taking games out to Bathurst they have the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Look, there's rumblings of maybe a country team being put in the NRL. I don't personally see it. Maybe in the New South Wales Cup, but I don't personally see a team from the country being put in. I think if we need to put new sides in, we put them out of state. But obviously, that's another topic. But definitely, it's a step in the wrong direction, taking it away in the first place if we are looking to push country rugby league as something that we want to, I guess, grow the game within the state. All right, next question, which is something that a few months ago I think I posted on my page about, and a lot of people did agree with this. Now, the question is, should games be brought back to suburban grounds and away from big empty stadiums? Now, I'll just give my sort of answer first. In this day and age, we cannot completely rule out ANZ Stadium, for example, or Allianz Stadium, because those stadiums pay big money for clubs to play there. That's the main driving point behind this, is money. Otherwise, they would have seen the crowd numbers and moved teams back to their suburban grounds a long time ago. It's about money. So I don't think so. Yes, they probably should. I don't think they will. However, I think there's a way they can make it so that we can still have the big stadiums in the game, but have more games at the smaller stadiums. So, for example, obviously, you're talking the Bulldogs going back to Belmore, South Sydney back to Redfern if this happens.
Tigers to
Tigers, Leichhardt, or Campbelltown Stadium, something like that.
Yep.
So I think we should do that, but have a game of the week maybe that you hype, where maybe two teams that are close on the ladder, a local derby or something, maybe, where then you do a game that is more likely to get a bigger crowd. You're obviously not going to get 80,000. We know this, but maybe if you're going to be pushing the capacity of that suburban ground, then move the game to one of the biggest stadiums, hype it up as a game of the week, so you can get the most the biggest crowd that you can because of this hype you're putting behind the game. So, for example, I don't know, the Bulldogs versus the Tigers, two relatively close sides. Let's just say they're both in the top 8. You might move that game to an ANZ stadium, let's just say when it was supposed to be played at Belmore, something like that. And then you still sort of get a crowd. That's just my take on it. What do you think about us bringing games back to suburban grounds?
Well, you've already brought up the financial side of things, and I think that's the biggest takeaway, that at the end of the day, the NRL is a business, and a business' main purpose is to generate money and income. And, you don't have to be Einstein to work out ANZ Stadium will be able to offer you more to put a game on there than a local oval such as Leichhardt would be. But, with crowd numbers dwindling as it is, I just can't see a reason why the NRL persist with this big stadium push. The only big stadium in the NRL that is constantly large in number is Suncorp, and that's a one-town team. Maybe we could say Hunter Stadium in Newcastle also. But, consistently, Suncorp, Broncos fans, all credit to you guys. You always rock up and support your team, and it's great to see. But look, take away the financial side of things. Put in a CEO that recognizes crowd numbers are dwindling by the year. The problem, and this is something I've heard suggested, I don't particularly agree with the person, but people have called for Gus Gould to potentially be the CEO of the NRL. Now, I'm saying no. He will have his hidden agendas, obviously, towards the Panthers, Bulldogs, other teams he's worked at. Yeah. But someone that understands the game from a manager perspective, but also a fan perspective, because that's so important. The players play for the fans. I mean, there is no NRL without fans. It's as simple as that. That is a statement with no controversy. It's a statement as true as it can be. If no one rocks up and buys membership and buys tickets and buys everything, there is no NRL. So, yes, bring back suburban grounds. We need a strong CEO that looks at the dwindling crowd numbers and does something about it. That's the biggest thing. It's about taking action. And, unfortunately, Todd Greenberg just isn't doing that at this stage. That's my take on it all. Yeah.
And if we are going to persist with playing games at these bigger stadiums, such as ANZ. I'm going to keep going back to ANZ because that's the one in everyone's minds that we're obviously all thinking about right now. They're not going the right way about trying to get people to go to games. And it's about money. They're getting these great deals in from Fox Sports, these great deals in from Channel 9, although I think in a couple of years' time, Channel 9 might lose the rights to the NRL and it might just all go onto Fox because they're paying a lot of money. So they want people to be watching games from their homes pretty much because of money. But I think if we are going to push, getting bigger crowds to these bigger stadiums, don't put a game between two local rivals, let's just say the Eels and the Bulldogs at ANZ Stadium on a Thursday night when, little kids have got school the next morning, parents have got work, and you're putting it on at 8 o'clock at night on a Thursday night. What type of crowd do you expect to get there? It's just common sense.
Even to stadium specifics, I certainly know for a stage there at the Titans when we were for Seabus took home ownership, we were still Skilled Park at that stage.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say because this was pretty much every game. We closed off a section of the stands.
Yeah.
And the Fox Sports cameras would be on that side mainly. And we would only have the canteens and the bars operating on one side with the entire, fans at the game on that side. I don't see that on ANZ. I see a lot of patches around the whole stadium. So I'm not sure if that's a management issue or...
Yeah.
That's not necessarily going to boost crowd numbers or anything, but it would look a little nicer on television, right? At least being able to see a crowd. I certainly know other sports do it as well. In the women's NBL the other day, I noticed they have all the cameras set up on the side where, opposite to the fans, and they have all the fans on the one side. And then, for ANZ, that works it as well because it halves the costs they're paying to run their bars, to run their food stands, because obviously you have half the staff. You just have them operate, or you have a couple extras on the other side. Does that sort of make sense to you as well? It doesn't fix the crowd issue, but at least paints a better image for us and gives a little more respect compared to other sports.
Yeah. And it makes the NRL look like a more attractive product to actually go and see live as well. Another thing you just brought up, blocking off certain sections of the crowd and that as well. I've noticed stuff at ANZ as well. It's not every game. Obviously, every game, let's just say it's a Rabbitohs home game. You notice this all the time, always in the top tier. They've got the Rabbitohs letters where seats are covered up and it says Rabbitohs across the top or something. That's fine because, let's be honest, we're not going to get 80,000 to every game. We don't need to. But the thing is as well, sometimes I've even noticed, even on the lowest tier, the camera will quickly pan to behind the goalpost and there'll be some big sponsorship sort of, blanket over a bunch of seats. It's not even like they're trying to fill those seats. It's like they don't want people to go to games because they want to, sell sponsorships and stuff. It's crazy. So, look, back to the question. I think we both agree without thinking about financial situations. Yes, games should be taken back to suburban grounds to at least make the game, I guess, a more attractive product because you're not going to draw to those bigger stadiums. But with finances and the financial situation taken into account, that is a little bit hard to do on a regular basis. On to our last topic now, which again can be seen as a bit of a negative. Our thoughts on Todd Greenberg's comments on the off-season drama. He randomly recently sat down to an interview. I think it might have been Channel 9. I'm not quite sure the exact station, but he talked about the NRL cracking down on off-field issues. I put a poll up on the page not long ago, a few days ago, asking if Todd Greenberg will actually go through with these claims. 70% of people said no. Yep. And so you can see obviously not every NRL fan follows my page, but generally, majority rules definitely is representative of the larger rugby league fan base. I don't think I'd be getting a much different result if every single NRL fan took part in the poll. So I don't know. I'll go over to you first. What are your thoughts specifically on the comments made by Todd Greenberg this past week?
Okay, well, I've got the comments in front of me. The message was simple. Go back to your players, from your junior players right through the top, and explain to them the standards that have been set. Explain to them that damaging the game also damages them individually. If you make a bad decision as a player, you put your livelihood at risk. It's a great, great honour to work in the game. It's not a privilege. First of all, and I've got a few issues with Todd Greenberg. My first issue is that was released 4 days ago, 21st of January. Now, why the hell were you on holidays this entire time when, let's be honest, the scandals in our game are that bad at the point I've had messages, people saying, make a starting 13 of off-field bad boys. And this dude's just on holiday. And then, oh, now my holiday's over. I want to come out and put a statement out now. Shouldn't that have been addressed a long time ago after the first off-field controversy? That statement should have been put out. It shouldn't have taken almost 10 players for the CEO of our game to come out and say that. Second of all, does he mean it? No. He has to say that. He has to say something so the media can get a hold of something to make him look like he's doing his job. Oh, the next player that gets caught. Oh, he's been caught, but the NRL CEO said they'll be punished. So, it covers his tracks. That's all it does. Third, and this is a lot more personal and potentially a little off topic, but I need to speak my mind here. I need to get these quotes. He has said about Dylan Napa, if you're sending video footage around to other people, what you're doing is putting your career, your livelihood, and the reputation of the game in other people's hands. Trying to use someone sending it on is an excuse. It is just that, an excuse. You've got to own it. Take some accountability for what you control. If you don't make the content, if you don't film the content, you don't get it out there, then people can't send it on. This dude had the content leaked. Yes, it was dumb content. No one wants to see him having a wank on the couch or having sex, but it was private content and it was leaked. It was stolen. It's not his fault. Greg Inglis, however, the former Australian captain, chooses to get behind the wheel, drive and speed, and this is nothing personal against GI. He's a great role model, and everyone makes mistakes, but him being behind that wheel whilst drunk and speeding, he was putting lives at risk. So if Greenberg's set to come down on Dylan Napa for something he did which was legal, the only thing that's happened illegal here was when they were stolen and uploaded to the net by other people.
Yeah.
Surely he's going to come down hard on Greg Inglis, right? No. He writes him a character reference and gets GI completely off with not even a conviction against his name when another man was in court the next day for I believe 1 tier higher drink driving, but he wasn't speeding. He had his license suspended indefinitely, 9 months of community service, and fined $900. And his lawyer came out and said, well, why didn't Greg Inglis get this? Why is my guy getting this? And he goes, oh, you don't have a strong character reference, and you haven't done work in the community like Greg Inglis does. It's just inconsistencies, inconsistency upon inconsistency with Todd Greenberg. So, I'm sure I've put out enough food for thought there, but the bottom, the end of the story is he had to say that. I don't believe there's any truth behind his words, and if there is truth behind his words, then it's completely misplaced given the example I just provided.
Yeah. I just sort of want to bring up a hypothetical situation, I guess. I'm going to use Cameron Smith with this one. Former Australian captain, Queensland captain, arguably the best player in the game still at the moment. We'll have to see how he goes in 2019, but let's just say tomorrow it comes out, and I'm literally, this is just off the top of my head, let's just say it comes out that Cameron Smith has been filmed snorting a line of cocaine and getting behind a wheel of a car and driving. Todd Greenberg's just come out with this statement saying that there's going to be a crackdown. I wonder what he does. Well, I genuinely can't say whether or not he would follow through with the statement that he said on the 21st of January.
I'll pose a question back to you without answering because I'm also on the fence for that one. A fringe first grader has done the exact same thing. Someone who, he might have debuted, he's played a game or two, or maybe he's still coming through the ranks. He's just done the exact same thing you said as an example for this former Australian captain. Is he suspended?
In the least, he's suspended. In the least, he would 100% be suspended.
As a minimum, right?
As a minimum, he would be suspended 100%.
And I agree with you completely there, which brings us back to inconsistencies upon inconsistencies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a doozy. I mean, look, for me, if Todd Greenberg doesn't follow through with what he's been saying, which I think he won't, I think he's gone halfway through the season. If anything else happens, obviously, I mean, and look, another thing that I wondered as soon as I watched that video, obviously Todd Greenberg had that conference call with, I think it was all the CEOs and all the club captains. I wonder how many of the club captains would then have actually gone back to their squad, got the junior teams, the New South Wales Cup or Queensland Cup teams, whatever, and the first grade squad all together to echo this statement. A couple of them probably would, but I wonder how many of them would have thought this guy's a joke.
Oh, absolutely.
And just not done anything.
The best way would have been to personally email all NRL players and acknowledge, look, you've done nothing wrong, but this is an official warning for where the game is at the moment. We are coming down harder. You will not be given a light punishment. I do not care about previous incidents or what's happened in the past. This is the future now. This is the new NRL. And, he can outline that in an email, send that to every player. So then there's no question marks then, or the player, that message wasn't echoed through to me.
Yeah.
Greenberg has a paper trail where he's clearly told, every NRL player what's the expectation, even though it should already be assumed. It certainly helps his case when, he potentially does sack the next player. But, we could talk all day about this realistically. There's so many points to bring up. So I'm personally really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on the whole Greenberg situation, the quotes I just read in the comments, and I'll be sure to have a read and get back to you all on that one.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to get in touch with me as well, I'd love to hear your comments too. Just one last point to add on to what you just said. If Todd Greenberg wants to really make sure this point's echoed, why doesn't he himself go to every single club's training ground and tell them himself? Make it feel important because the CEO of the NRL has come to your club. By him, just getting captains to echo the message, it doesn't feel personal. It doesn't feel genuine. Anyway, I've got to stop talking about this because otherwise we're going to be here all night and probably for the next couple of weeks. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. As I said, there might be not too long a break until the next episode, maybe a couple of weeks, just until I can get my hands on a new computer to, obviously give you guys the best content that I can. I want to thank Clarkey as well for obviously filming this for me, and for, just coming on. He's always, a great, I guess you could say, colleague, a great friend to come on and to help me out on the page here. So I just want to hand over to you now, Clarkey, just to sign off.
Beautiful. Yeah, no worries. Even 40-degree Canberra heat wasn't going to stop me filming this podcast today. I bloody love footy, and I'll talk about it all day. If you're not already, guys, if you are seeing this from my side of house, make sure you head over and follow NRL In My Opinion on Facebook, or like him. Follow him on Instagram or like him on Facebook. Very good content, as I always advocate, and always more than happy to work with you on projects like this, Oliver. So hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the stuff I had today. I am always interested to hear your guys' feedback or replies. Let me know. I agree, I disagree with what you said. You're a wanker. Whatever it is, guys, I appreciate it all, and I do my best to get back to you all. So with that being said, I assume that's going to wrap up the show, Oliver.
Yeah, we are done here. Thank you for tuning in.
Beautiful, guys. We'll see you next time.